Hello and welcome to another Havoc Sons video. Now, I have this new camera and I don't really I'm not good with it. It's a fancy. I should have just stayed with what I know and what I love, because this thing has so many buttons and adjustments, and I know it can lock onto frequency rates of the monitors I'm showing, but I just haven't really figured out how yet. And my life is crazy right now. I got a lot going on, which is one of the reasons why I'm doing this in the first place. And God, it would have been a great LAN party, and I would have had a ton of fun. But and it's very sad. It's with a heavy heart that I'm doing this, because I built each one of these machines for certain people in our tech battle group. But things happen. So anyway, this camera has this really cool microphone. It's very nice, but if you don't talk directly in the right spot, it fades out horribly, which I notice I'm doing on my other videos. So, I'm trying to adjust. So I apologize for all my misgivings on my filming. I'm doing the best I can. If you had half of what I've got going on right now, you would totally understand. Okay, so anyway, what do we got here? This is another Intel motherboard. This is the DG965WH. She's also a 1066 megahertz front side bus. Usually the 1066 megahertz front side buses, they were pretty dominant in, say, from 04 to 07. It's funny. Front side bus signatures didn't last long. I mean, you stayed at 1066 for just a couple years. Then you went to, I think the next one was 1333, and then 1600, and then 2000, and then the i7s don't even use front side buses anymore. They go to something completely different. But this one here, the 1066, I think is probably your best bet for a lot of different things. Definitely very capable of running Windows XP, and even downgrading a little bit to go to Windows 98 second edition if you want to. So that's one of the reasons why I favor 1066 frontside buses, and I favor Intel boards more than any other, because they just seem to be able to do that a lot easier. So this computer's motherboard has an 8 gig max of 800 megahertz, which is pretty standard. This has got this little case window that opens up. What's kind of nice here is this has got a temperature. This is in Fahrenheit, which is unusual. That tells me, and there's no way to change it, unless maybe there's some switch on the inside. I just haven't really looked. But when I first acquired this case, it was in Fahrenheit, which tells me this case was probably either made or designed in America. But I like it for that reason, because and it's pretty warm today. And this is telling you the temperature of the CPU, nothing else, which is nice, or the area around the CPU, not the actual CPU temperature, because 93 would be ideal, if even possible. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about this. The way this works is, even with its closed, and of course this has got a DVD CD burner, but even with this closed, she breathes the same, because she breathes through the side down here. Your hard drive light is here. It's got a really nice power light, like that blue there. And this is your reset button. So let's take a look. Well, one other thing. Let's take a look. I don't know, see if I can pan up here. And there's a handle, which is really kind of nice. Now, I'm trying to do this while staying in the vicinity of my freaking microphone. Anyway, there's a carrying handle here, and then there is this little bay that would house USB ports, but when I bought the case, I bought it used, and it did not come with any. So currently, the only way you can run USB ports are on the back, unless you can get a USB attachment. I see them on eBay, and then just hot glue them in there and tap it into the board, and you'd be good to go. I don't have the time. Okay, so let's take a look at the side and the back. Oh, there is another cool feature that I forgot to say. Of course, you got one little fan here. There is another fan in the front, but check this out. If it gets too hot, open that. When you open that bay, another fan turns on and starts blowing warm air through the top. I think that's pretty cool, my friends. I like that little feature. You see that right up there? When you press it down, the fan shuts off. If you notice the temperature getting a little warm, you just press that button and booyah. You're good to go. So that's a cool little feature. I like that. That's one of the reasons why I got this. All my cases, except for my really early ones, when I get to that, you'll know. All my cases do something kind of cool or different. The older basic ones really do not do anything. Now, another cool thing about the Intel DGs is they like to load them up. They like to put, this has got your 5.1 and your optical out. Let's see if I can take this off for a sec. Yeah, those look like all USB ports. This may be a SATA port. Let's see if I can get my light on it and see. No, those are all USB ports. So basically you have 246 in the front, and this here is FireWire. This has onboard video if you want it. It comes with a printer port, and the COM port's on the board, and it needs to be, pulled off to the back here. But again, it's one of those things I just didn't really get to. So let's take a look at the insides a little bit. Let's talk about that. Okay, a couple of nice features on here. It is running a quad core. It is a Q6600 running at 2.4 gigahertz. It's the Kentsfield. She benches out, this is a CPU-Z benchmark of 296.6 at all 4 cores. Currently, she is running 800 megahertz, 4 gigabytes of RAM, DDR2 RAM. She has, right down here, you'll notice that she is set up. As you can see, anytime you see 3 hard drives, that pretty much tells you that C drive is a twin drive and they're rated. And when you see it set up like this in these little mounts, those are those nice 80 gigabyte VelociRaptors. Those are fast drives. They were the fastest SATA drives. Before you went to solid state, there was nothing else faster. I think the 10,000 in SATA, the 10,000 was about as fast as you could go. I think there was some scuzzy 15,000 RPMs that might have been a little faster, but these were, for SATA, these were damn fast. When you rate them together, forget about it, which is something SCSI could never do. So this by far was the fastest way to set up a hard drive if you were looking at a retro gig setup, or a retro rig setup, I should say. It could be a gig. I mean, you could have a party with it. I do anytime I build one of these things. So what you got here is you got twin 80 gigs, 80 and 80. That doubles up to 160 gigs. Playable is about 148 gigabytes on your C drive, and it's fast, which is more than enough. She's running Windows XP Service Pack 3. Excuse me, unofficial Service Pack 4. That's that service pack that a bunch of gamers came up with, programmers, and it's unofficial to Microsoft. But it gives you all the updates and a few other little nice little nuances. And then on the D drive, you're running a 149 gig. I can't be for sure, but I'm almost positive that's a VelociRaptor also, but it's a 149 VelociRaptor, which would have been the 160 gigabyte VelociRaptor. I can just tell by the heatsink holds a hard drive in. There's only a couple hard drives I buy from Western Digital. So that's a 10,000 RPM drive too. It's not rated, but it's still on its own. It's quite fast. Okay, let's see. GPU. Right here, we're running a, I like this video card. Even though it's not a pusher like some of the others, and it doesn't need power, it was built to consume as least amount of power as possible, but it is the AMD Radeon HD 4600. She has 1 gigabyte of DDR3, but the cool thing about it is, listen to this. For an unpowered video card, this is pretty impressive. Heavy load has her pushing 1,125 frames per second. That's fast enough to do any game from that time period, from that retro period that everybody likes to play. Okay, so she can run Sanctuary. That's that, like Heaven and all those other benchmark type systems. She gives a maximum frames per second of 34.2, and average is 25.8. Her score is 1093 at a Sanctuary benchmark, which for a retro system is not bad at all. Interesting that this is, I guess I don't have a FireWire connector for that. I have to look close to see if there is one on the board. I know there's FireWire on the back here, but they may not have a setup for another one. Okay, so like always, like the other one, she's running a legit Windows XP Service Pack 4. She's pre-installed with the various games that I've talked about on the other systems. She's 100% tested, burnt in, and ready to go. Rock solid, very fast. Like I said earlier, she has the DVD burner up front. Now, what's unusual about this is I used a USB flash drive to build this machine, so I did not use a floppy. So this machine does not have a floppy drive, which, every retro gamer I add floppy drives, and sometimes I throw in zip drives. And if you see a zip drive on any of the systems that I am showing that are going to go to eBay, they will include a zip disk. Okay, so that's pretty much this machine. I'm looking close, and I don't see an external plug for a FireWire, unless it's that down there. I have to look close to see, but I'll check to make sure, and if there is one, I'll plug that in. But this is pretty much my system. This is the Intel quad core, the Q6600, 2.4 gigahertz Kentsfield. Again, like always, thank you for watching. For those of you who subscribe, thank you for doing that. Stay safe. Have a great day. More importantly, have a better life. See ya.